Thinking about something that was embarrassing, nothing really in my personal life comes to mind, although I'm sure there have been a number of times. What does come to mind is in my little acting career, I was in a community theater production. It was called Black Coffee, supposedly Agatha Christie's first play. I played an Italian inspector. I spoke English, but I had a somewhat of an Italian accent. It was not a very good accent, but it was what it was. And this was maybe the third or fourth night of the play. I come out to the stage, I deliver my lines. I'm then supposed to go into a closet and wait until I hear some lines to come out. For some reason, I forgot to go in the closet. I knew I was supposed to do something, but I couldn't remember what it was. And I ran out of lines, and so I started improvising, and I know my poor fellow actors were going, well, what's he saying? And where's my cue? And fortunately, there was a person who was going to come on next who realized that I was in trouble. And he comes out, and I forget exactly what he said, but it was something probably like, oh, Inspector, you are wanted in the library. And I gratefully took that cue and exited. So if you're a theater actor, that's always in the back of your mind. Am I going to forget my lines? Am I going to screw up? If you're a film actor, it's different. The director says, cut, reset, back to one. I've done both, but that's my most embarrassing story that comes to mind. As far as someone forgiving me for one of my transgressions, I've certainly had a number of them over my life, and I have fortunately survived my mistakes. But the biggest one that comes to mind is that I was a contract negotiator for a company that operated restaurants and gift shops and bars in airports in the United States. And we had a subcontractor who was politically powerful. She knew a number of people on the airport commission, which governed our contract, and she wanted a space that we controlled. Our merchandise division did not want to give up that space. It was empty, so the question was who was going to get it. We could not resolve it over the phone, and the landlord said, Steve, I need you to come sit down, you, me, the subcontractor, and hash this out. So I flew there, and although I consider myself to be a competent negotiator, ready for just about anything, I was unprepared for the amount of emotion and anger that this person expressed, and how much of it was feigned and how much of it was just her really believing that she had been wronged. I don't know, but what she said was, if you don't give me the space, I'm going to go to my friends on the commission. And oh, by the way, I'd like you to give me $100,000 to help with the build out. I said yes. I didn't say, can we take a break for a moment? I didn't say, I'm sorry, I have to phone my boss. I said yes to $100,000. I got back to the office, and when I shared this with my boss, I expected to get fired. Right? $100,000 in those days, this was in the 80s, that was a lot of money. But he didn't fire me. And what actually paid off in the long run was several years later, this powerful subcontractor and our company combined together and was able to get a new long-term contract at the airport. So you never know how these things are going to turn out. I grew up in a town in Southern California called Whittier. It was about 20 miles east of LA. And like most older people, I remember my time as being rather uneventful and idyllic. This was in the 50s and the 60s. I think the most outrageous thing that happened was in my senior year. There was a kid whose father was a doctor, and somehow the kid was able to get a syringe, and he filled it full of vodka, and he injected an orange, and he brought it to school and consumed it. That was, anyway, In terms of growing up, you've asked about dialect and accent. Well, if you're a true Southern Californian, you know we don't have an accent. Now, people in New Jersey, oh, what's it gonna be in New Jersey? Hey, forget about it. Or how about somewhere maybe in the South? Well, you all, it's a wonderful thing that we're gonna do here for you. And so those are accents. Southern California, we don't have one. Any special words? Well, the ones that come to mind, this in the 60s and 70s, surfing was really big in Southern California. Some of you may remember the movie Beach Blanket Bingo with Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon. And they used words like cowabunga and surf's up and hot dogger and moondoggy and groovy and far out. And now they had to share groovy and far out with the hippies at the time as well, but I don't think I maybe used any of those words. Well, maybe far out once or twice. And surfing. I never surfed while I lived in Southern California. It wasn't until I was in my 30s and happened to be in Honolulu on vacation that I said to myself, I should take a surfing lesson. After 30 minutes, I was exhausted. It's a lot harder than it looks. Okay, I have to put my glasses on for this one. Well, here's a story for you. Sarah Perry was a veterinary nurse who had been working daily at an old zoo in a deserted district of the territory. So she was very happy to start a new job at a superb private practice in North Square near the Duke Street Tower. Now, that area was much nearer for her and more to her liking. Even so, on her first morning, she felt stressed. She ate a bowl of porridge, checked herself in the mirror, and washed her face in a hurry. And then she put on a plain yellow dress and a fleece jacket, picked up her kit, and headed to work.